Today we're going to make a video on how to make an animation with Python 3 graphics library, Turtle Graphics. Okay, so I'm going to open up a terminal, navigate to my desktop, create a file called animation.py. You see that appeared on my desktop there. Then I'm going to open the text editor of my choice, Atom, and I'm going to use that to type the code. So here's my animation file. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import Turtle Graphics library. So import Turtle. And anytime you import the Turtle Graphics library, it's going to open a window, and in order to keep that window open, you say turtle.done at the end of your code, and that window will stay open until you close it. Alright, so if I were to just run this, Python 3, it opens this window. Because this resolution is low, the window is very large. So that's going to be the first thing we correct. So I've imported the library Turtle, and Turtle has a lot of attributes, variables, and functions and classes defined within it. Okay, so one of those is the class Turtle. So I'm going to instantiate the class Turtle. So Turtle is the module name with a lowercase t, and a capital T is the class Turtle that's defined inside of this library. So this is going to instantiate one of these objects and store it in this variable Don. Okay. Now Don has a screen attribute, and that screen attribute has to do with the window that opens when you run Turtle Graphics. Every turtle that you create, I can create multiple turtles this way, all of them will share the same screen attribute. So every turtle's screen attribute is the same. We're only going to use one turtle, and I'm just going to store this in a variable screen as a shortcut. And so we need to do some setup on this screen because the window's too big. So we're going to say screen.setup, and we want to say the width of our screen, we'll say that's 1200. The height is 675. And then we're going to say the starting X position is 0. And that's going to be the X position that your operating system allows. So after the menus and everything, so it's going to be right here, the 0. Y and X values, they start in the upper left-hand corner for the operating system graphics, and start Y equals 0. Okay, so that's going to start us up here. Now remember, Turtle Graphics, the X and Y coordinates are more like in your basic mathematics, your graphing, where you have a Cartesian plane, and 0, 0 would be in the middle of your canvas, but that's not how a lot of other graphics programming works, which is why start X and start Y is 0, 0, and that's the top left corner. Okay, so when we run this, we should see a window open up, and sure enough, it opens right here at 0, 0, and we have 1200 pixels by 675. And there's our turtle Don, and he starts out facing east, and the window stays open until we close it. Alright, so that's all good. So that's our basic setup. We need to figure out some variables. We'd like to know the width of our screen, which we should know it because we set it. But there's also a function to get it. You can call window width as a function. So this screen object has a function attached, window width, and that's going to give me our screen width. And then we want the same thing but for height, and window height. Alright, and then we want this is going to give us the width and the height, but we also want the minimum value for an X and the maximum value for an X. So in Turtle Graphics, remember, 0, 0 is the middle of the window. So there's going to be a negative X value that's going to be all the way to the left, and a positive X value that's all the way to the right. So we want screen minimum x. And really, when you think about that, that's just going to be the width divided by 2, right? But it's going to be the negative of that, because it's going to be negative half of the width. All right, and then the maximum x is just going to be the same thing, but without the negative. That's going to be a positive half of the width. Okay, so if our width is 1200, 1200 divided by 2 is 600, so the minimum x value we can use to still be visible on the screen is negative 600. The maximum x value is positive 600. All right, and we're going to do the same thing for y values. So we'll just copy and paste this, and we have screen minimum y, maximum y, and then instead of screen width we have height. Okay, so these are just some helper variables that we're going to use so we can know the bounds of our canvas, the bounds of our screen. Okay, and then up here we have some basic setup. Okay, so we're using the comments to kind of delineate sections of our code. All right, and then this is kind of our cleanup or our finish. All right, so we still haven't had our turtle do anything. So let's make Don do something. Don dot forward. He's going to go forward 100 pixels. Actually, let's make him draw a circle with a radius of 100. All right, so we can run this, and we see him actually draw out that line, and the you actually see the pace of him animating that drawing. Okay, so what we want to do is, for our animation, we actually don't want to see him drawing these things, right? And watching Don draw the circle is supposed to help you understand how the graphics works, but for our animation, we don't want to see that. Okay, so we're going to have Don here. We're going to change his speed to 0, and then we'll close that, run it again, and so it executes very quickly now, almost instantaneously. All right, so this makes him go very, very fast, and we also don't want to see Don. We don't want to see the turtle itself drawing things in our animation, because that's going to distract us from what's happening in the animation. So we say Don dot hide turtle. Okay, so if we run that, now we just see the circle, and Don has disappeared, even though he still drew it. Okay, so that's pretty nice. And then the last thing is for animations. This makes Don even faster. We say screen.tracer 0. Okay, so that means instead of, with Don speed of 0, he's still actually animating everything, and I believe screen.tracer just draws the thing. It doesn't have a turtle actually make the circles. All right, so this eliminates the turtle altogether and makes it better for animations. All right, so we've got all of our setup here, I think. We've got our helper variables, and this is Don doing one simple thing, which is drawing a circle. Okay, so that's all well and fine. Let's say we want to draw a circle, but we want a background, because for an animation to work, you have to have a background to paint over the original picture and then draw a new picture. So our circle is going to be our actor. It's going to be the thing that moves. So we have to draw a background to cover up the previous frame, and then draw the actor in a new position. Okay, that's how animations work. And then we pause so that the eye can detect it. All right, so we draw a background, we draw the actor, and pause. We update the position, draw the background, draw the actor, and pause. And that's pretty much the cycle of an animation. So we have to be able to draw a background. So let's figure out how we're going to do that. And we're going to use some of these helper variables to do that. So we've got first we'll set fill color, and we're going to make kind of a sky blue background. And then that's the fill color, and we're going to make the pin color the same. The pin color is the pin that the turtle has under his belly as he moves around, right? So the pin color, we're going to make those the same. And basically we want to draw a rectangle the size of our canvas, right? So we can put Don wherever we want, but we need to lift up his pin, then move him. So Don.set X. We're going to set him, if we want to set him to the bottom left of our canvas, that's going to be our screen min X and our screen min Y, right? So we want to set X, that's the X value of Don, to screen min X, and then we're going to duplicate that line and set the Y version to screen min Y. Alright, so that's going to position Don all the way down here, and we basically just want to draw a rectangle like that and fill it in. Okay, so we need to say Don.pin down. Also, we need to make sure Don is facing the right direction. So we say Don.set heading 0. Alright, so if we look at the documentation for the Turtle Graphics library, this is on docs.python.org. If we search for set heading, we see that 0 means east, 90 means north, 180 means west, 270 means south, right? So it's kind of like from your math classes. 0 is completely, it's 0 degrees, and that's east, and as you go up in degrees it goes and forms a circle, and that would be 90, and then to the left would be 180, and then down would be 270, and then back around. Okay, so that's what the heading is. Right, so the set heading is 0. So this positions Don in the bottom right hand corner, and we set the heading 0, and we put the pin down. Now what we want to do is draw a rectangle. So we're going to say Don.forward, and he's going to go forward how far? Well, the width of our canvas, so screen width. So Don.forward screen width, Don.left 90, and then Don.forward screen height, because now we're going up the height of the screen. Right? And then turn left again, and then we just duplicate these two lines. We're going with screen width again this way, and then duplicate these two lines, and we've got the screen height. Alright, so that's good. So this is draw the sky. There we go. And then we want to draw grass. So basically this is the same thing, except we're going to have a different color. Alright, so instead of the color here, we're going to switch this out with a green color. So this is RGB, right? 2 hex characters of red, 2 hex characters of green, and 2 hex characters of blue. So we want very little red, we want kind of a dark green, so maybe 9, and then not much blue either, something like that. And see, that gives us a nice green, so we'll copy that to the pin color as well. Right? So remember, Don is now down here, and we want to draw another rectangle, except we don't want to go all the way to the top here. We just want to draw a rectangle like this to make green grass. Alright, so our height is the issue here. We're going to, instead of go all the way up, we're only going to go halfway up. So screen.height divided by 2. And the same when we're coming back down. We don't want to go down the whole width, we just want to go down half of, or the whole height. We only want to go down half of the height. Alright, so this should draw a nice background. If I didn't leave anything off, which I apparently did. Pin down. Alright, let's move the tracer off so we can actually see Don again. We'll comment these out and we'll see what's happening when we run it. Help us debug. Okay, so he is moving. There he goes. Oh, okay, so he's drawing his line. The problem is we didn't fill. Okay, so we have to add a fill. Alright, so pin down, we also need to say don.begin fill. And then at the end we say don.end fill. Alright, same for over here. Don.begin fill. Don.end fill. Alright, so we'll save that. So we see him moving around. He's up there. There's the sky. Okay, so there's our grass. So periodically as you do this, you may want to comment or uncomment these lines so you can see him actually draw, if that helps. Okay, and so if we uncomment those, then it draws it really fast. Alright, so this is our background that we're going to have, and your background needs to have, might have some more stuff, right? It might have an additional thing, maybe a sun. So let's draw a circle that's yellow. Okay, so we need to set the fill color and the pin color. We're going to move the pin up again. We're going to move Don somewhere, bring the pin down. So all this stuff we need to copy. And we can draw the sun. Now we need a yellow color. Alright, so yellow is usually a combination of red and green. Okay, so we'll do something like PB. Let's see what that gives us. There's a dark yellow. Let's do FF. There's a nice bright yellow. Alright. Okay, so we're going to draw the sun. We need to move our character, our turtle, somewhere in the sky, right? So we want to do, remember 0, 0 is in the middle, so we can say maybe we're going to move him to negative 400, and we'll set the Y to positive 100. Alright, we'll set the heading to 0, he's still going to point east, and we're going to draw our circle. We're going to just use this circle, that's fine. Draw a circle, and 100. We need to begin the fill. Draw the circle, and end fill, and then we're good. Alright, so let's run that. Okay, there's a nice sun. Alright, so we have all three of these aspects in our background, 3 different colors. That's kind of nice. And you can make the sun, you could draw lines all around this if you wanted. So basically all of this code we need to run every single time we want to draw the background. Okay, so I could copy and paste it, but there's a built-in way to do that in Python. We want to define a function, and anytime we call this function, all this code will execute. So we're going to call this draw background. Okay. And then we have to indent all of the code that we want to be part of this function. Okay, so all of this code gets indented one level. This indentation means everything in here is part of the code block for this function definition. So we're defining a function. This is the function name. And if we had any arguments to pass in, like additional data to pass into the function, we would define it there. The colon means we're expecting a code block, which is indented code, and then we have all of this indented code. So if I run this right now, we just have a function definition. None of this code runs because we never called the function. All right, so we can try that real quick. So nothing actually runs. If I go down here, I want to call draw background. If I can spell. There we go. And that draws our background. So anytime we want to paint over everything, we can just draw our background again. So when I have another drawing of a stick figure or a square moving around or something like that, I just draw the background and then I reposition the square and I can draw it again. So the background always draws over the last frame of our animation. Alright, so we've got draw background, and now we basically need to draw frame. Okay, so we want some function here, we're going to have to define it, that's going to draw the first frame, right? So in computer science the numbering starts at 0, so we're going to say draw frame 0. Right? And we have to define what this function is. So I'm going to make the section where we define a function called frame 0, and everything in here we go draw frame 0. So this is the function definition that's associated with this function call. Alright, and so we need to do something with Don, and pretty much everything we do is going to be the same process as for when we drew the sky, right? We set the fill color, pin up, set the heading, pin down, and then begin fill, and then we do something with the turtle. Alright, so let's draw a red square. Alright, so red 0 0, so RGB. And then we could just make the pin color black, that's fine. So where do we want to position him on our screen? 0 0 is in the middle. Let's start him at the bottom left a little bit. So we're going to set the X to negative 500, and we'll set the Y to negative 250. Okay, and his heading will still be east. Okay, so negative 500 is going to be somewhere over here, and negative 250 is going to be somewhere down here. And we'll say Don dot begin fill, Don dot forward, and we're just going to make a square that's maybe 100 pixels by 100 pixels. Okay, so go forward 100 pixels, turn left 90 degrees, and do that 4 times. And then Don dot end fill. Okay, so this is just going to draw our frame. Okay, and we see there's a square here now. Now we might want to have an X and Y position for our square, right? Because we're going to try to be moving the square. Okay, so we can have an X value so this negative 500 and negative 250 is actually here. So this is where we start our turtle, and then we draw our square like this, because we go forward 100 pixels left, forward 100 pixels left, right? So we could stick with that, or we could try to make some form of X and Y coordinate system. Okay, so well, let's just stick with this because it'll be a little bit easier. We'll set his pen size also. Don.pen size. We're going to set that equal to 1. It looks like there's a very faint line. Let's set it bigger so we can tell if that black is actually working. Alright, so he doesn't appear to be drawing. So we'll set the speed to 9. We'll display that and we'll see what he does here. So here's the background, there's the sun. No, it drew it that time. That's interesting. Okay, so perhaps the tracer is the issue. There. Okay, but there's still somewhat of a delay, right? You can see it fill in. With tracer 0, there's no delay. But the lines aren't drawn. Okay, so that's interesting. So we can work around that. Alright, so let's just make our animation character this square, and we're going to have another square inside of it on the corner. That's going to be green, and this one's going to be 75 pixels. Alright, so run that. Okay, so this time it drew it. I think I need a screen.update here. Let's try that. Yeah, the screen.update is the issue. So that's going to be part of our animation sequence. We draw the background, draw the frame, and because we have tracer set to 0, we have to call screen.update, and that basically completes the drawing. Alright, so our actor here, draw frame 0, is basically going to be 3 squares, nothing fancy, and this one's going to be a blue one, and we're going to say that this one is 30 pixels, or maybe 50. We'll do 50. Okay, so we've got 3 squares. And this is basically our actor. Okay, so that's our first frame, and we can draw a second frame the same way by copying all this and just changing these numbers slightly. Okay, but if we want to do an animation, that's going to be a lot of code, right? So instead of draw frame 0, we're going to call this draw the actor 0. And we're going to take an X value and a Y value. So where do we want to draw this actor? This actor is going to be moving across the screen, and we're going to repeatedly draw him in different positions. So we have to have a function to draw this actor based on a particular X and Y that we give it. Okay, so we're going to say the X and Y is going to be the center of this actor, right? And then we want to move the turtle down 50 pixels and down 50 pixels and start drawing everything from the center, because this is a 100 by 100. Okay, so this is going to be the X center and the Y center. Okay, so for whatever X and Y we give it, we're going to set our X position to X and then subtract half of our width, which is 50, and then Y minus half of our width, or half of our height, which it's a 100 by 100 square. Alright, and then that puts our position down here, and we draw the actor. So this is draw actor 0, and we could have another actor that might be triangles or something like that. So draw actor 0, and we're going to put him at a certain position. So this is going to be negative 450 for the X value and negative 200 for the Y value. Let me update. Right, and that draws him there. So now what this means is we can just draw the actor and change these values and he'll move. Alright. So in order to have the perception of animation, we have to pause a little bit between each drawing. Okay, so if I go back down here where I'm actually making my animation, we draw the background, we draw the actor, and then update the screen. I can copy this and I can make him move 10 pixels at a time. So he'll move to the right 40 pixels, or to the right 10 pixels, and then the next time 10 pixels, and then the next time 10 pixels, next time 10 pixels. So he's moving 10 pixels every time we draw the frame. So now the problem is the computer draws everything really, really quickly, right? And also we just moved the red square. We need to fix that as well. But we didn't see any animation because it drew so quickly, right? So let's fix our actor first. The set X and set Y is the problem down here. This is going to be Y. So that should move the whole thing instead of just the red one now. But we didn't see. It started down here and it just painted so fast because the computer is so fast. So what we want to do is artificially inject some pauses so that our eye can see it at certain positions. Alright, so to do that, we can use the time library. So we can say time.sleep after each one of these. So this will be, we'll say 0.2 seconds after each one. We'll copy and paste that. So now when we run this, we should have the illusion of something moving. Okay, and it just moved a little bit, right? That gives us enough to see that we have some sort of animation happening. Alright, so we could make multiple frames like this. Have him keep going to the right. Now, if you're a computer scientist, you're going to notice we're doing the same thing over and over and over, which is generally something to be avoided. We're copying and pasting the same code over and over, and the only thing we're changing is one variable. So you could do a while loop for this as well, or a for loop, depending. Okay, but for now we're just going to copy and paste because we still have to add one more actor. Okay, so this piece is animating, and we can increase the time. So actually, let's go ahead and just make a for loop. This is going to be easier. For I in range 20. So we're going to want to make a loop that runs 20 times because we're going to have 20 frames. Okay, so let's get rid of all of these. And basically, I becomes 0 to start with. This range function makes a list-like structure where I becomes each one of those items in that list-like structure. It starts at 0 and goes to 19, so there's 20 of them. So we'll start out and we'll say 450 minus I, or I guess we want to say plus I. So we're adding I times 10 pixels every time. Okay, so the starting position is 450. I is 0 times 10, which is 0. So the x value is 450 starting out. Next time I is 1. 1 times 10 is 10, so 450 minus 450 plus 10 is minus 440. And then this will be 20, so it'll be minus 430, and it'll keep going that way. So now we should see 20 frames of animation. Alright, so now all that's left is we just have a second actor that we need to draw. Okay, so let's draw actor 1. That was actor 0. So define draw actor 1. And we're going to have an x and a y coordinate for this actor as well. And let's just say we need to copy and paste all the stuff at the beginning, which is the color, pen size, heading, and begin fill. Alright, so let's draw circles this time, and we're going to change the colors. So for the circles, we're going to want the center of the circle. Alright, so we just need to move the x value. So the circle draws wherever the turtle is. If the turtle is at this cursor and its position is to the east, the circle starts drawing and then draws a circle like that. Alright, so if we want the position to be from the center of the circle, right, we basically have to say, if this is the x and y position of the center of the circle, we need to say the starting position of the turtle should be minus half of the radius, or minus the radius. Okay, so we have a radius of 100, we'll say, and we'll say x minus nothing, and then y minus half of the radius, or just the radius, which is going to be, yeah, let's say the radius is 50 for this. And we'll do 100 to make it similar to the square. No, that would be 50. Okay, there we go. A lot of indecision there. Alright, so we can now say don.circle begin fill. That should be infill. Right? Okay. So this is just the function definition. Right? So we haven't actually drawn it. We haven't called that function. So down here in our for loop, this is our actual animation. what we want to do is say draw actor and we're going to start the actor at a certain position. So let's start him over here on the right and we're going to move him upwards. Alright, and so we're going to say to the right that position is going to be positive 450 and then negative 200. Alright, but as our frames increase, we want to move him maybe 5 pixels. So he's going to be moving slower than the other one. He's going to move 5 pixels per frame, but he's going to also be moving in the Y direction. Radius. So the circle radius is 50. I forgot that. Okay, so it tells me, this error tells me line 149, draw actor, missing one positional argument radius. Let me see, we've got this circle moving upwards. Alright, so now all we need to do is add 3 more colors if you want to make your actor more complicated. So the second one, we got to change the color. This will be that. We'll say from Y you subtract half of the radius, so this will just be 30. And then we'll do one more circle. This will be 10. Make the pen size 2 on all these. They're not as bold. And then the color of this one change. Alright, and then the radius here was 30, because that's what we subtracted here. And then here the radius is 10, so we need to change the radius to 10 there. This should draw 3 circles. Very simple animation. This is what underlies most graphics, most animations. This isn't exactly how you would do it. Definitely, you would want to find the time difference between each frame and move them a certain amount to get kind of a steady view of the animation. But if you change the sleep amount, so 0.1, and you can also change how many frames you have there. The animation becomes smoother the more frames you have. Right, and you can see these things move across the screen. And then eventually they get to the end. Alright, so that's the very basics of animation. There is quite a bit of code, but the functions become very useful, and if you put everything in a for loop at the end, it's really nice. Right, we just draw the actors individually and have some I, that's the frame number, and we change their X and Y positions based on that. So you can change the number of frames you have. Okay, so quick recap of the code. Import turtle, import time. We have the setup, create our turtle, set his speed, hide him. We have the screen object. We set up the screen width, height, and starting position, and then turn the tracers to 0. That makes it draw very, very quickly. We have our help variables, the helper variables, screen width, screen height, screen min x, max x, min y, max y. Then we have a function to draw our background, so we draw the sky, draw the grass, and draw the sun. All right. Then we have our individual frames. These are actually our actors now. We changed that. we have our first actor, and we could call him square or actor 0 or whatever you want. So draw actor 0, but he has an X and Y position, and so this allows us to draw him anywhere on the screen. So everything we draw is relative to this X and Y. And he has 3 different parts of himself, red, green, and blue. And then actor 1 is a circle, and it's yellow, cyan, and magenta. Basically the same thing, 3 different circles. Okay. And we'll run it one more time, see what it looks like. Alright, simple animation.